Hello, sweet friends. Welcome back to the podcast and welcome to 2024. Oh my goodness, here we go. Another year. Amazing. I love the start of the year. I always, like most people, start with so much enthusiasm and energy and excitement to create. It's just such a lovely, lovely time. So I am just so happy to be here with all of you as always, because as you guys know, I love this time that I get to spend with you. Feels like such an honor to me that I get to spend this time with just me and you, or if you have me out listening with your friends or your kids, with everyone in the room. So today we are going to talk about the science behind vision boards because a lot of people like to create them at the beginning of the year. But before we do that, I want to give you a few updates. First of all, you guys get to know me a lot on this podcast. I share a lot about me. I share about my personal life, my own personal journey, but I don't know you and I want to get to know you. So I realized one easy way to do that is on Instagram because we're all sort of on Instagram these days. So I'm at Vanessa Calderon MD. So feel free to go out on Instagram at Vanessa Calderon MD. If it calls you to follow me, give me a follow, but you can DM me on Instagram and share with me what it is you want to hear. Is my content resonating with you? Any of those types of things. It's really helpful for me. I'd love to get to know you more. And if you are not already on my list, my mailing list, you've got to get on that. I send out so much great stuff on that list. And an easy way to do that is go to vanessacalderonmd.com. That's my website, vanessacalderonmd.com. Scroll all the way to the bottom, and there's a link there to join my list. I send out some really great things there, and it's another great way for us to get to know each other. So that's Vanessa, Vanessa, Calderon, Calderon, MD.com. And of course, one last little request is that if you enjoy what you are learning on this podcast, please rate it. If you are listening on a platform where you can review it, it takes 2 seconds to review. Please go down, review, give it a thumbs up, maybe just say one or two things that you really like about the podcast. And of course, share it with your friends, with your family, with your tias, hermanas, mothers, whoever is out there that you want to share it with, because it really helps other people find the content when you rate it, when you review it, and of course, when you share it. All right, so let's talk about vision boards. All right, so here's the thing. I freaking love vision boards. I have had such a positive experience with vision boards. Even before I fully understood the science behind them, I was all in on vision boards. And in my experience, I've been creating vision boards consistently, probably for the last, I'd say, 7 to 10 years, maybe. And in my experience, everything I put on my vision board, I create. It takes me, sometimes it takes me a year, sometimes it takes me 3 years, but within about 3 years, everything on my vision board I create, and I have to update my vision board. I usually update it annually, but sometimes every other year, just depending. And vision boards are incredibly powerful. It's another great tool to add to your tool belt to achieve the things you want to achieve in the world and live the life you want to live. So I know that a lot of people listening might not be believers. You might not be a vision board believer yet. So what I want to do today is dive into the science because one, I'm a big, huge nerd. I love science. And so we're going to dive into the science behind how vision boards work. Hopefully I make you a believer as you're listening. And then I am going to teach you how to create an effective vision board. All right, buckle in. Let's go. All right, so let's start first of all with the science behind vision boards. So this is going to get a little nerdy, a little heady, but I'm going to do my best to keep it light and really just go over the stuff that really matters. So vision boards work because they are activating different parts of your brain. One important part of your brain that it's activating, which I've talked about before on this podcast, is called the reticular activating system. I love the RAS, the reticular activating system. And the reason why is the reticular activating system, I like to think about it as sort of this like diamond-shaped thing inside of your brain. And I say diamond because if you think about a multifaceted diamond, when a light reflects on it, it reflects that back in so many different ways. And the way I think about the RAS is whatever you put inside the RAS is going to get reflected back to you. So whatever you put in the reticular activating system, whatever you see around you, including your beliefs, your emotions, all those types of things get reflected out into your real world. Now, continue with me on this journey for a little bit. So what do I mean by that? Let me give you a very simple example. Have you ever noticed that when you decide to go buy, let's say, a Prius or whatever new car you're going to buy, all of a sudden you start seeing that car everywhere you look? Or have you ever noticed when you decide you're going to buy a red car, you start seeing red cars everywhere you look? Why is that? That, my friends, is the reticular activating system in action. When you put that into your consciousness, when you start noticing, when you start saying, I'm going to buy a Prius, now you have created this bias in your brain or this space in your brain where you are now going to start seeing the things that you're thinking about. And the same thing happens with your goals or your beliefs. So when you can, we're going to come back to vision boards now. When you use a vision board to vividly imagine what you want to create, when you put that on your vision board, when you start seeing it every day, guess what happens? It goes into your reticular activating system, and then you start looking for examples of it everywhere you look. And that is how the reticular activating systems work. You start paying more attention to any related stimuli in your environment that's going to help you achieve that goal. So I'm going to create an entire episode specifically on the reticular activating system soon because I just think it's so awesome and it works really, really, really well, which is why when you start believing something, you start creating it. Because once you put it in that reticular activating system, that diamond in your brain, it starts being reflected back to you. All right. So why else? Let's talk more science, more nerdiness here coming at you. Okay, so the other reason why it works so well, because when you start putting things on a vision board, what do you start doing? You start visualizing. Now, visualization is incredibly powerful. For one, it activates specific regions of your brain, and it activates almost the same regions of your brain as if you were actually seeing this in real life. For example, it activates your occipital lobe. Occipital lobe is the part of your brain where you see things. So, like if you're seeing it with your own eyes. And so, what happens is when you start activating these sensory parts of your brain, the feeling, the seeing, the emotion in your body, that allows you to really engage that during visualization, which helps you actually feel the same things you'd be feeling if you were actually achieving it. So, as an example, let's see. One of the things that I was super focused on well, not as much anymore, but in the beginning when my husband and I first got married, so over 10 years ago, was creating a very intimate, loving relationship where we supported each other and we allowed ourselves to be vulnerable. So I put that on my vision board. And I put things on there on my vision board of couples laughing, smiling, doing things like that. And when I would see it, what would I feel? I would feel joyful. I'd feel happy. I'd feel grateful. And so me seeing it, just seeing that thing on my vision board was accessing parts of my brain that are associated with with sensory perception, emotions, feelings, those types of things. And so I was actually already feeling the things that I was seeing on my vision board. And when you can feel it, that's first step into creating it. All right. So the second thing here is something called mirror neurons. So we talked about the reticular activating system. We talked about activating different regions of your brains. And now I'm going to talk about mirror neurons and simulation. Mirror neurons are awesome. Mirror neurons is how empathy works. Empathy when you feel how other people are feeling. The way that works is because of what's called a mirror neuron. A mirror neuron is something inside your brain that is firing when you see someone else take that same exact action. Let me give you an example. Let's say that you see somebody, they're getting out of a car, they close the car door, and they slam their fingers in the car door. Me even telling you that, you're probably already feeling like, ugh, that must have been so painful. Now imagine you hearing that or even seeing that in action. What is happening, the reason why you can feel that in your body and the reason why you have that reaction is mirror neurons. That same exact thing, the pain, the hurt, all of that is being fired in your brain. It's the reason why we get so into like sports, and when you see people out there cheering, it's because you're feeling that same excitement and anticipation that the athletes are feeling when they're on the field, when they're on the court playing basketball. I love basketball. So I'm using basketball as an example here. But that is why you feel that. Those are mirror neurons. Okay, so how does it work with vision boards? So the way it works with vision boards is the same way. When you put something on a vision board of what you want to create, that same visualization is happening, activating your mirror neurons, allowing your brain to simulate the same experiences and actions mentally. So when I put that picture, we'll go back to my husband, of us laughing or joyful activities or being vulnerable with each other, sharing that, it allows me to feel safe doing that in real life. It allows me to be more vulnerable because I've already felt what that feels like with the mirror neurons. So mirror neurons allows you to simulate what you see on your vision board. Okay, so I got two more here I'm going to throw at you. The second one is it engages memory systems. Okay, it engages different memory systems. So when you can visualize something, things that you're putting on your vision board, what it does is it taps into different parts of your brain that are associated with memory. When you visualize a scene, for example, or an event, or you put a picture up there, your brain will draw on past experiences, past memories, past associations. It's what we do. That's how our memory works, which contributes to a very rich and more detailed mental representation of what you're seeing. So if you put on your vision board, for example, a happy couple or whatever, what does it do? It taps into my brain of the times that he and I were really happy, or when vulnerability was safe in our marriage, or when I see that outside, when I see other couples do that. It engages your memory system. And this is something that is so important. I actually use this all of the time with my students inside the journey when they have something really scary they're going to do. Maybe they're interviewing for a job, negotiating something. I have a lot of students that are physicians that are doing continual medical education. They have to take their boards. If they have test anxiety, I use visualization to help them engage their memory systems to help them bypass a lot of that anxiety and stress. It's super, super powerful. Okay. And the last one here is neuroplasticity and strengthening different parts of your brain. So neuroplasticity, fancy word to mean that your brain is plastic, which means that your brain has the ability to shift, to shape, to mold. It's a dynamic organ in your body. It is not static. So a lot of people believed for a very long time that your brain was static, and they would think that the way you are is the way you are because your brain cannot change. And the way you are is because of your past, your brain can't change. I'm so sorry that your life is the way it is. But that is not at all true, which is why I am so passionate about helping people change and become the person they want to become, because nothing can stop you. Your brain is plastic. Your brain is dynamic. Your brain will shift, will shape, will mold based on the experiences that you experience in your life, what you put in front of it. So this is another way the vision boards work. If you put something on your vision board that you want to create and you start visualizing that happening, it starts creating those neural pathways in your brain. Neural pathways are the space between two different brain cells. So what it starts doing is it starts connecting those different brain cells in your brain. You'll start associating your ability to be able to do something. For example, maybe you get excited instead of like scared or disappointed, and you're able to do something more and more because you are building those pathways in your brain. And the more you see it, the more you build that pathway, the stronger, the faster those neurons will fire together. So let me see if I have a good example of this. I have an example. So this is the way I like to think about it. Whenever you are first building two connections in your brain, two cells that you want to connect that you've never connected before. For example, I used to associate failure with just like deep disappointment and fear. And the way my brain cells would fire is every time I even heard the word failure or the thought of me failing, like I'd want to vomit, like it would immediately go to those feelings of disappointment and all those other things. And I taught my brain and I learned how to be more resilient with failure. There's no way that you can be a successful entrepreneur in the world if you are not comfortable with failure. And I was all in on being a successful entrepreneur, so I had to learn how to fail. And so one of the things I started doing is actively rewiring my brain so that failure no longer made me feel like I needed to vomit or made me feel disappointed. But instead, failure was like just another opportunity, excitement. What can I learn? And that was how I taught myself by rewiring my brain. Every time the thought of failure would come in, I would just tell myself, another opportunity to learn. This is exciting. What else can I gain from this? And I kept getting back up faster and faster, which meant I would fail faster, but it also meant that I would learn faster and succeed faster. And I can tell you one thing in the world of entrepreneurship and really almost any goals, that the faster you can fail, the more you can get comfortable failing, the more successful you will be in the world. And that's how neuroplasticity works. Okay, we talked a lot about science here. Just quickly review. We talked about the reticular activating system, that diamond shaped structure in your brain that allows you to really create kind of like the hologram. It allows you to create what you believe inside your brain outside of you. We talked about how the vision boards will activate specific brain regions associated with sensation, so activation of different brain regions. And I gave you the example of the occipital lobe, which is the lobe associated with you actually seeing something and feeling it in your body. We talked about mirror neurons, which again are my favorite because they're associated with empathy, and empathy and compassion are two of my favorite things. We talked about engaging different memory systems, and then I ended with neuroplasticity. Okay, so that was a lot. And I hope that I have brought you on the journey now, and you are now either a believer or at least willing to try it out. Okay, so but just before I go in, for those of you that are still a little skeptical about vision boards, I'm going to just share three other things with you before we talk about how to create an effective vision board. And that's this. The reason why all of these things work is because, for one, when you enhance your focus and your attention on what you want to create, it allows you to focus your attention on your specific goals or your tasks. So seeing your vision board, repeatedly seeing what you want to create, does this thing to your brain. It's a bias. It's like how cognitive biases exist, but you are using cognitive bias to work for you instead of against you, because you are now biasing your brain to see the things you want to create. You enhance your focus and your attention on what you want to create. The second, obviously, is motivation. When you see the things you want to achieve all of the time, it's going to motivate you to want to achieve those things. And so it's associated with motivation. So, and then the last one I was going to mention here, which I kind of already talked about, was the neuroplasticity. So whenever you can consistently see what you want to create, it strengthens those pathways. All right, let's talk about how you can create an effective vision board. Let's talk about how you can create an effective vision board. Okay, so when you're ready to do your vision board, you don't really need a lot of things. You do need a little bit of time, and you need to make sure you have your goals clear. So let's talk about that for a second. First, you want to give yourself time to reflect. reflect on what's been working for you. Go back to, I think I did an episode 2 weeks ago on how to create your goals for the year. So once you have that done, go back and listen to that episode if you haven't already. But once you've reflected on and celebrated your year, what you've already achieved, and you start thinking about what you want to create for the next year, you get to reflect and set your goals. You want to make sure that your goals are pretty clear. The very first time I ever created a vision board, I just created like an inspiration board. I just put a bunch of stuff up there that made me feel really positive, but it wasn't by any means a vision board. It didn't have set goals. It wasn't super clear on what I wanted to achieve because I didn't know the power of vision boards in the beginning. I thought it was just something to make me feel happy. And it did make me feel happy, but it wasn't clear. There was no clarity associated with that vision board. So the first thing you want to do is get clear about your goals. What is it that you want to achieve? If you've never created a vision board and you want to focus your attention on one thing, only create goals for that one thing. Maybe it's, that area of your life with health or with relationships, or career, whatever it is or maybe it's money, like whatever it is you want to achieve, get clear. And maybe you want to direct your vision board to be super clear on that one area. So I'll tell you what I do, and this might work for you, but it might not. So you want to be super thoughtful about what will work for me. So when I create my vision board, I actually divide my life up into different areas of my life: my family, my personal relationships, community, what else? Finances, career, and then me. And I actually said me last, but me always goes first on my vision board, which is, how do I want to think and feel? How do I want to connect with my intuition? Like, how do I want to care for myself? And so I usually put that first. So I divide my life like that. And then I get super clear as to what do I want to achieve in each of those areas. Now, I don't always set a new goal. Sometimes it's just maintenance. Like, I feel pretty good about where I am with my family, for example. So it's going to be maintenance this year of making sure that I'm present with my children, making sure that I'm present with my husband and giving him space to also go out and do big things in the world. And so you want to think about where you are in life. What goals do you want to set? How specific can you get on your goals? The more specific, the better. For example, if you have a money goal, put the numbers on your actual vision board. The more specific, the more you can give your brain to focus on, the better. If you have a weight goal, don't just say I'm going to lose weight. Say I'm going to lose 10 pounds. Don't just say I'm going to get a raise. I'm going to get a 3% raise. So you want to be super clear and specific on your vision board. It's kind of like the SMART goals, if you remember. Specific, what else? Measurable, attainable. Can't remember the other two. But point is, you want to get super specific on your goals. Oh, timely, I think, is the last one. So get super specific on your goals. And once you have them, write them out on a piece of paper. I just put them out on a piece of paper first, or I type them up on my computer. I have those goals, and then I go to my vision board. So there's two different ways to do this. You probably associate vision boarding with like magazines and, poster boards, glues, marker, scissors, all those types of things. And you can definitely do it that way. For a really long time, that's how I did all my vision boards. But I'm going to also give you another way that I found to be faster, easier, and actually gives you exactly what you want. I just go straight to the internet. I go straight to the internet and I look for exactly what it is that I'm looking for. Because if you're looking through magazines, you got to keep going until you find what it is that you want. But once I know exactly what I want, so I'll keep using that example of my marriage, I just Google image, I Googled imaged something like a happy couple or vulnerability or whatever it is that I was looking for. And so once you Google image, I just cut and pasted the image. I copied the image and I would just put it on a slide, on a PowerPoint slide. You can also keep this on a screenshot if you want. But I would put these on PowerPoint slides and then I would change the size, however big or however small I wanted it, so that when I printed out that slide, I had the exact image I wanted, the exact size I wanted, so I can cut around it and put it on my vision board. So I think that's the easiest way to do it, but it is fun. Like why my daughter and I did a vision board once, and she really wanted to cut and paste magazines and do all those things. So we did it with the magazine together. So it's fun doing it that way. And I'm all about creating my vision board to achieve the things I want to achieve in my life. So and I'm also the type of person that is always looking for the fastest, easiest, most effective way to get things done. So for me, I now go to the internet and I now put them on a PowerPoint slide, make it the right size that I want and print that out, cut and paste. All right, a few things to think about. When you are looking for what you want to achieve, what do you want to put on your vision board? You want to put, any visual image that's actually creating what it is you want to create. Put that visual image on your board. Put that visual image on your board because of all the things that I already mentioned. You also want to make sure that you're curating your images to resonate with your goals, with your emotions, with your aspirations. Make sure that it's really resonating with your emotion. Make sure that the image that you see is resonating with what you want to feel when you achieve that. That is one of the most important things that I think gets left out when we talk about manifestations or things like that. When you can feel that emotion, that is so much stronger than thinking about it because feeling an emotion happens through your entire body, not just your head and above when you're thinking, it's your entire body feels an emotion, which is why emotions are incredibly powerful. So you want to choose images that resonate with the emotion that you want to feel when you've actually already achieved that. Okay, the other thing is you're going to want to put on some words, some quotes, things that really inspire you. So if there are some quotes that really inspire you, for example, I have this quote on my vision board. I'm going to look over my vision board right now, read the quote to you. It says, it's an Oprah Winfrey quote. It says, create the highest, grandest vision possible for your life because you become what you believe. I'm pretty sure Oprah's life coach, Martha Beck, told her that because it sounds like a life coach thing. Um, and I have that on there because I 1,000,000% believe that. And I wanted to see it all the time to remind me. And by the way, remember that quote because that's, again, the reticular activating system. When you create the biggest goal for yourself, the biggest possible like vision for yourself, you become what you create. Okay, so we've gathered materials, we've looked for images that help us feel what we want to feel. And now you're looking for any words, any quotes, any affirmations. So let's talk about affirmations for a second. How do affirmations work? Affirmations, especially when they start with I am, like I am going to lose blah, 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 or I will lose blah, blah, blah. What that does is it creates that identity for your brain. It triggers the part of your brain, the premotor cortex, that is associated with you actually taking the action and achieving that. That's how affirmations work. That's why intention is so powerful. Because when you set an intention, you're triggering the part of your brain that helps you achieve what you say you're going to achieve. Pretty cool stuff. I tell you what, this stuff is awesome, especially when you know the science. Okay, so you set out affirmations, positive statements, things, anything associated with things that make you feel really good about yourself. When you put a goal out there, like for me, what I put for my marriage, I'm looking over to see if that's still up there. I am creating a legacy of love, partnership, and passion. That was the affirmation I put under my goal. So create affirmations for yourself that really help you think about what it is you're creating. Or if you see really awesome quotes out there, cut those out and put them on there. All right, let's talk about how you design your board. So listen, the way my brain works is I like to have things really organized and beautiful and laid out in a way that makes sense. Now, if you don't have that type of brain, do it in a way that works for you. My way is not the only way. So do it in a way that works for you. But here's what I do. So I'll just tell you what I do. I think about it thematically. So I think about, my marriage or family. I think about career. And for me, it's also important how I lay it out. Like for me, I want to say, listen, the most important thing is me. So the very first thing on my vision board, right in the middle, or the top or, the upper left-hand corner, if you read from left to right, is me. And I put that there first because if I don't focus on myself, on my own well being, you guys all know nothing else really matters because I cannot be the best for everything else I want to do. So I really think about it thematically. So I put it in themes and then I organize it in a way that matters to me. Like these are my priorities. So the top half of my vision board is like the one from last year. I'm updating my one for this year, by the way. But my one for the last 2 years was me, and then my marriage, and then my family, and I was really, really set on making sure that I had a beautiful, intimate, connected marriage, and so I separated that from family, from my relationship with my kids. So those were my goals for the last few years. And now that I have achieved that, or I feel really good there, and now it's more maintenance. Of course, you don't ever achieve something, check it off a box and keep going. You see it, you celebrate it, and you know that it always takes maintenance to keep going. So it's still that family is still going to be on my vision board, but more for maintenance, like I mentioned earlier. Okay. So organize and design it in a way that makes sense for you. So I use just like a regular poster board and I separate the poster board depending on how many areas I'm going to put on there. So if I'm putting 6 areas, then I create, 6 different squares that are equal in size. But you can do it again, however it works for you. If you are putting 6 areas, but one is going to get all your attention, make that size bigger. If you are only doing one area, take your time, use up the entire board. So really there's a lot of different ways to do this. I do it in a way so that it really just jives with the way my brain works. So do it in a way that makes sense for you. And then the last thing I will say, oh no, 2 other things. One, feel free to personalize it, make it really dynamic. For example, for me, I had my family, me as a mother, and my relationship with my kids, and so I put a picture of me and my kids on there where we're smiling and having a lot of fun, and I put that on my vision board. So make sure you're adding personal touches. If it serves you, if it calls to you, write a handwritten note to yourself. I would do that. I would just make it really legible so that you can actually read it. Okay, so now let's talk about once it's done, what do you do? Where do you place it? So you want to place it in a place where you are going to see it all of the time. You want to put it in a place that has maximum impact because you want this to be part of your daily routine. You want the visualization, the visibility to be part of your daily routine. So, where are some places that you go to every day in your house? Where are some places that you're always in front of? Some spaces that are going to inspire you. Maybe for you, it's your bedroom. Maybe for you, it's a home office. Maybe it's right next to a desk or whatever workspace you have. For me, it's in my office and it's always been in my office on my right-hand side so that, it's right underneath my window so that when I look out my window and I'm just getting, some inspiration, guess what I always see? My vision board. And that is what you want. You want it to always be there. Occasionally, I'll just come into my day and I look at it and I look at it with so much admiration. I'm just so happy, and I'm so proud of myself for what I put on my vision board. And I just feel so much gratitude for the fact that I keep creating my goals and keep putting on new ones. And so I look at it with admiration, with gratitude. And so sometimes I'll spend a few minutes just looking at it before I start my workday. But even if I don't spend that time, I still see it multiple times a day because of where it is. So subconsciously, it is always working. So that's something I just want to make sure you guys all understand. One of the reasons why the vision board is so effective, especially when you place it in a place that you're going to see it a lot, is because it is always working in the background. Subconsciously, it is always influencing what you're seeing, what you're doing, how you're feeling, what you're thinking. And once you get your subconscious mind involved in a space that's intentional, the sky is the limit, my friends, which is why inside of the journey, one of the things we do from day one is help you rewire your subconscious brain, help you rewire your subconscious brain to create the goals you want to achieve. All right, that was a long episode, but I hope you found this helpful and I hope I made you a believer. We talked about how vision boards work, the science behind them, and then how to create an effective one. So feel free to save this episode, come back to it when you're ready to create your vision board, share it with a friend, have a vision board party, get some girlfriends together, some dudes together, and create your vision board together. And when you say your goals out loud to the people that you love, that will support you, that you trust, it helps you make them more of a reality. So I hope you found this helpful. And of course, I've got to plug the journey. So remember, if you want to work with me directly, if you create your goals out there and you want to work with me so that I can help you achieve your goals, you want to come and join me inside the journey. The Journey is an all-inclusive coaching program that I run that is it's an online school that helps you rewire your subconscious brain to live the life that you want to live, a life of freedom, a life of intention, a life of purpose, really help you achieve the goals you want to achieve, but not just that, live the life you want to live. All right, sweet friends, I will see you next week. Adios.